Jacob, you're going to be in South Africa in August. At the same time, in Johannesburg, they're going to be having the BRICS conference. So,
Yes.
God's sovereign. So he knew you would be there. It's picking up speed, it says. Financial markets are changing. BRICS,
Yes.
which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are going to implement something that they have been wanting for some time. And this is nothing new, but now it's picking up speed. Their own currency, their reserve currency backed by gold. They said that, well, because they had their meeting in June at the Cape of Good Hope, they believe that they have the good hope of having this resolved. Now, whether Putin's going to be there or not, that seems to be the biggest controversy. But on August 22nd through the 24th, they're going to be approaching the decision whether to have a reserve currency backed by gold. Jacob, take us back, 1971, Nixon, where we are now, and exactly what this
after
means.
Brenton Woods, coming forth into 1971, when Nixon defaulted on the dollar, okay, now you're not going to get gold for the dollar anymore, okay? The United States went off the gold standard. You have a dollar based on the promise of a corrupt government. Well, what's going to give it value? They went into petrodollars, oil, in league with the Saudi Arabians, having to pander to the Saudi Arabians, left, right, and center, but they did that because they needed Saudi oil. Now, Saudi Arabia is going to BRICS. Now, BRICS has accumulated significant amount of gold reserves. Now, ultimately, we know this won't work because we're told in the Epistle of James, those who have this gold, it's going to be as if the gold rusts. Gold is not naturally oxidized, but it's going to become worthless. Well, it will. It's amazing what will happen in a famine and a food shortage. If you can't eat it, it's not worth anything.
It's not worth anything.
But in the short to medium term, what gives BRICS potential power is the petrodollar is finished, as we've known it. The petrodollar is not what it was. We can thank Biden largely for that and his incompetence, though it's more than Biden, but he's above all. And the gold backing that they would want to give a BRICS. Again, this has been another factor in why the United States and NATO want to perpetuate the war in the Ukraine, to weaken the Russian ruble.
That's right.
And to make sure that the Russian ruble will not become a petrol currency to rival the dollar, now especially since Saudi Arabia and Iran are moving in that direction. The real struggle for global dominance in the short to medium term is about reserve currency. This is the thing. Now, BRICS has its own problems. The conflict between China and India is one of them. That is a major one. The devaluation of the Russian ruble is another one. The euro failed to replace the dollar. The combined economy post-Brexit now of the UK, of the EU rather, is now less than the American economy. The United States economy is bigger than the whole EU post-Brexit, once again. The euro did not replace the dollar as some people thought it was going to or wanted it to. It didn't. The question is, will BRICS be able to do something? However, what I point to the most is the thinking that many people and many Christians have that the mark of the beast will be a currency. It doesn't say that. It says you cannot buy or sell without it. It will be a permit to engage in commerce or trade. It'll be a permit. Think of social credit scoring. Yeah. It'll be a permit. Think if you can have an active bank account if you don't like your politics. Yeah. Like they do with Nigel Farage, or like with what Trudeau did in Canada.
Yeah.
That is much more of a concern to me in terms of, from the perspective of Revelation 13, than a digital currency is. I do personally think, because of the inherent weaknesses in BRIC at this time, that if the dollar is to be replaced by a alternative reserve currency, it is more likely to be something I've been saying for some time. It will be an exchange rate mechanism between central banks. The European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, all they need is an exchange rate mechanism of $1 to €1, fixing their interest rates to hold that value in place in a one-for-one exchange. You bring other countries into it. Certainly Australia, Canada would be countries that would automatically be drawn into it because of their ties to the British and American economies. And I'm sorry, to the British and European economies. The pound would be drawn into it. I think that exchange rate mechanisms between central banks are much more likely to create a digital currency that could become a reserve currency than BRIC at the present time. But BRIC is going to try the same as the euro did. But I don't think they're going to succeed beyond a limited point in the same way the euro didn't succeed beyond a limited point. That's not to say they won't succeed at all, but they're not going to rival the dollar at the present time. That's not how it's likely to happen, to the best of my analysis.
Yeah.
Now, what I would also say is this. Russia has been selling oil, and it has been unable to find alternative markets for its natural gas. It doesn't have these ship containers to do it, but it's having to sell oil at a discount to Russia and to China and India, and it's doing that. But it's selling the oil at a discount at a time when oil prices have gone down somewhat, and it's not selling refined oil, it's selling crude, because India and China have their own refining capacity. This is hurting Russia. But what's really hurting Russia is this. China will not buy the crude from Russia in rubles. They'll buy it in yuan. And India is not buying the oil from Russia in rubles. It's buying it in rupees. So Putin's having to discount this oil that's worth less, that's not refined, it's just crude, so it's not worth as much. And with the declining spot market prices anyway, on top of that, and he's being stuck with currencies that are not popularly traded or in demand outside of India and China. He desperately needs
BRICS.
Some kind of a BRICS bailout.
Yeah.
But with the ruble going so low, he's not going to get it.
Several countries want to get into BRICS: Saudi, the UAE, Egypt, Iran, Algeria, Argentina, Kazakhstan. If all these BRICS countries come in, which they already have 5 of them, obviously big ones, 3.2 billion people, that's a lot. That's a big percentage of the population in the world that's going to have 40% access.
40% of the world's population, 40%. Yeah. But remember
crazy.
something. Remember something. There can only be one captain of a ship. It's either going to be the United States, which, thanks to Biden, is in a precarious position now, thanks to Joe Obama, or it's going to be China.
Interesting.
An anti-democratic country that's polluting the planet like there's no tomorrow, because there is no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Jacob, and they'll go with them.
You're going to be speaking to South Africans there, and I wonder, obviously you're going to encourage them in the Lord and things that they need to do as Christians. But one of the things South Africa is, it's at a crossroad. They either are going to burn bridges with Russia, or they're going to damage the relationships with the U.S. But they can't have both, seemingly. They're either going to have to trade with the U.S. and the Western nations, or they're going to have to go east. And there are many people irritated, many countries in the West irritated with South Africa because of its warm relationship to Moscow. Where do you think South Africa stands? I mean, it's been a mess the last year.
Okay, first of all, the corruption of South Africa and the ANC is ridiculous.
Yes.
As much as I disliked and disrespected Desmond Tutu because of his pro-lesbian, pro-homosexual thing, as much as I disliked that man, before he died, he said one thing. the ANC shows that South Africa said what I said in different words. South Africa, in getting rid of apartheid, replaced one evil with another. He knew the new South Africa was just as bad as the old one because of the ANC.
Yeah.
I don't like Tutu, but he told the truth about that before he died. It is completely and hopelessly, desperately corrupt. Black people are significantly worse off now than they were under apartheid, and I was against apartheid. Yeah. White people are leaving left and right, and many have left. Yeah. It's a rich country turned into a poor one. Yeah. Same as what Mugabe did in Zimbabwe. They turned a rich country into a poor one with corruption, waste, mismanagement, socialism, etc. However, there's something else that happens. In tribal Africa, homosexuality, despite Tutu, is not culturally acceptable. It's seen as unnatural among Black Africans and many other tribal peoples. An official from Zambia, next to South Africa, and I've been to Zambia, said, Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, came to our country. China comes here with its Belt and Road Initiative to build things, to look for business opportunities.
Right.
Kamala Harris lectured us about changing our policies and our attitudes towards LGBTQ. Who are the Black Africans going to listen to? China or her? Yeah. She's pushing a social pansexual agenda, and China is pushing its own agenda. Now, these countries in Africa who are buying into the Belt and Road Initiative are putting themselves into unbelievable debt to China. It's not aid. It's a form of mercantilism. It's a form of mercantilism. It's economic colonialism. They're going to find out, and some are already admitting what China is doing to Africa and other third world countries like Sri Lanka. They're finding out what it is. But when you've got Kamala Harris talking about LGBTQ, I was in Uganda visiting an orphanage that we're associated with. My son, young Black guy, Andrew, I'm the sponsor father, kid with AIDS, lovely. I know this was a very little boy. He was a baby, basically. But, he's the kid I sponsor. And I was there with Dave Royal, and we were looking at their work and seeing if we could help and work with them at this mission in Uganda. Hillary Clinton is there at the same time. Tons of American Air Force personnel fly in with her in these American aircraft, transport planes. She's there threatening the Uganda government that economic aid is going to be withheld if they don't change their policies on homosexuality and lesbianism.
Right.
Bearing in mind, Africa, Black Africa, Uganda has already been and is being decimated by AIDS. Homosexuality would obviously only increase it. She doesn't care how many blacks they kill. That's not her agenda. This is Kamala Harris. This is Hillary Clinton. Yet there are people stupid enough in the United States. There are people stupid enough, men and women, to vote for them. Well, when you get to Africa, you see the realities. And the realities are China is in the economic and political ascent, and America and the West are in the decline as a direct result of American policies.